it used to be. I mean, I don't know about in 2012.
Yeah, because we've also kind of benefited from the online platform because it allowed us to do so much more. Like in a week, we sometimes used to have like 2 or 3 events. And yeah, and I think the good thing is that we're all like friends. So like lots of people like criticize having friends within a team because like, you know, issues can arise, but I think it's been the complete opposite. Like we've all known each other, so it allowed us to work and more effectively.
Yeah.
I hope everyone else agrees.
I actually was a member for I think a year or so, right before graduating, but it was really fun. They did a lot of cool activities. I remember we did an event together with Rotaract, and it was like a fundraising mutual collaboration. It was really cool. And they did it at the CISO.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's back when we could. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, okay, thank you. Well, I'm very glad to know that we have made progress since those years. And I think, Sophia, you raised your hand.
Yes, just to let you know that we are live now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
And yeah, and I think the good thing
Okay, so yeah, we are officially live, and I would like to then welcome again all our amazing speakers and everyone who is joining on YouTube. Yes, I see now everyone is on screen, so we can officially start. So good afternoon, everyone. I am Bianca, and I'm a third-year student specializing in commercial law. And within ILSA, I am the president and the head of the social events committee. And before I let the other members of the board introduce themselves, I would like to say a few words about ILSA and what we do. So ILSA stands for International Law Student Association and is a study association within the International European Program at the Hague University of Applied Sciences. And our goal as ILSA The Hague chapter and as a team is to make our association reach its full potential while enriching the law student community within our program and also outside the program and the university. And in order to do so, we mainly work through 3 different committees: the Social Events Committee, which is focused on more academics, the Main Events Committee, and then we have the Social Events Committee, which is focused on socializing and organizing fun activities for all our students. And then we have the Journal Committee, which is more focused on writing skills, and at the end of each academic year produces an ILSA journal. And further to that, ILSA also supports the International and European Law Program. For example, we help during the introduction week for all the year 1 students, and we also help organizing the student body system for all the exchange students. And since this academic year, we have started to have a spot in the Employment Network event, and lastly, we also hosted our first edition of the ILSA Diplomacy Days. And whereas our team of ILSA ambassadors, they organize these very interesting conversations with the ambassadors of the different embassies that we have in The Hague. And we are actually planning a second edition, so watch out for the announcement. And thank you. Now I will give the floor to Sarah Jane, who is going to be the first ILSA member to introduce herself.
Thank you, Bianca. And hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Jane Chakarian. I'm a third-year student specializing in commercial law. And within ILSA, I proudly hold a position as Vice President and Head of Communications. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Mara. I'm a third-year student, and I'm specializing in public international law and human rights. I'm also the head of main events, and I've been with ILSA since the beginning. So now I'll give the floor to my colleague, David.
Hi, hello everyone. It's nice to see you here, and the guests, and of course the ones who are watching us via YouTube. I hope you're all doing well. My name is David Mustafa. I'm also a third-year student of international and European law, and I'm also specializing in commercial law. I hold the position of the editor-in-chief for ILSA, and yeah, it's great to be here today, and I look forward to the discussion. Pass the floor to Daniel.
Hello everyone, it's great to see everyone here. My name is Daniel Neve-Mass. I'm also a third-year student. I specialize in international criminal law, and I'm the head of marketing for ILSA. And with that, I'll pass the floor back to our president, Bianca.
Yes, thank you very much, all of you, for introducing yourself. And now we can give the floor to all our speakers, and they will introduce themselves, and then we will get to know them and what they do a little better during the Q&A session. So I will give the floor to Miss Luca, Laura.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Laura Luca. I am originally from Romania, and I have graduated from the Hague University back in 2014. I did a specialization in international criminal law and international humanitarian law. And I started my career in private international law with a focus on international family law. But ICL has always been my soft spot, so somehow I've managed for the last 5 years to work initially for the ICTY and currently for the mechanism, where I switched sides in the sense that I have worked for the defense, for chambers, and now back on defense on a contempt case. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, and now we have Priti.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Priti Bhikharie. I'm originally from the Netherlands, but I now live in Washington, D.C. I actually graduated in 2018 with a degree in public international law. And it's been really useful for me. I actually got to use my degree in all the internships that I've done. So I think that I can give you guys a little bit of breadth of knowledge of what it takes to kind of work in this industry.
Thank you very much.
Hey guys, my name is Nane Engelhart. I am Dutch, living in Amsterdam. I graduated from the program in 2013, so quite some time ago. While I was at The Hague, I specialized in commercial law and did an exchange program at Southwestern in LA. Currently, I'm a senior legal counsel at TomTom, where where my focus initially was purely on intellectual property. And over the last years, it's kind of gone more towards a pure commercial role, so more of the contract side of things. So looking forward to chatting with you all.
Thank you. And now we have Mr. Milkov, Radoslov.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rad Mukov. I graduated together with Laura in 2014. I am Bulgarian. I specialized in EU law, and since my graduation, I have been actually specializing my career in medical technology and medical device regulation.
Thank you very much. Yes, and now we have Mykyta.
Hi everybody. I'm Mykyta. I graduated from the Hague University in 2018. Yes, I want to firstly to thank you all for inviting me. I mean, it's a great pleasure to be back to my alma mater. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm originally from Ukraine, and I came to The Hague in 2014 to study international European law. I didn't have any specialization because I went to Rome, and when you do an exchange program, you don't have any specialization, but I had so much fun in Rome, so I don't need it. So right now I live in London. I work in a London-based fintech consultancy. So basically, I consult fintech companies.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you all for introducing yourselves. And now I would like to ask a general question before we go into the specific questions, which is, what did you take from your time studying at The Hague University? And I'm assuming you all were here in The Hague because there wasn't COVID, you couldn't study online. So what did The Hague specifically help each one of you to reach where you are right now? So we can start again how we did the introduction. So Miss Laura.
Just call me Laura, please, no miss. I would say for me, the idea of coming to The Hague was a bit not planned in any way whatsoever. But I think the one thing that really helped a lot during the studies that I really appreciated were the projects that you were doing every quarter and applying the knowledge that you were studying in theory. I think that that was the thing that it really helped me a lot in my life as a professional. And second of all would have been the Psp Library, where you meet all the people that you need to meet in order to create a vast network that you will end up hanging out with and also meet in your professional capacity.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, the Peace Palace is still closed because Bianca and I both want to go there to study, and we could only visit it yesterday. Looking at it, still very beautiful though.
They sent an email today that they're reopening starting next week.
Bianca, take note. Thank you. And I'll pass the floor to Ms. Priti.
I would like to echo the sentiment that Laura made, that one of the things that I found to be extremely useful was all the projects that we did. It actually really prepped and primed me for meeting deadlines in the real world when you constantly have to deliver these deliverables and do the projects. So you get a bit of everything that you will end up doing, regardless what industry you end up in. It's the interpersonal skills, project management, event management. At some point, I found that in my capacity, I actually work as a vice president. This is like way back. I think
First is a member to introduce herself.
Thank you, Bianca. And
I would host like the end of the year parties. So you ended up doing a bit of everything, and it was really fun.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Jane Chakarian. I'm a third
time also at the Peace Palace Library. You got to network. You got to meet so many influential jurists that would come through. I had a really great time, and I definitely used all the networking events because you got to meet so many interesting people, and you meet them along the way as well.
Thank you, and also shout out to Mr. Lorange, who I saw he tuned in on YouTube as well. So
thank you, Ms. Priti, and I will now pass the floor to Ms. Nane.
Yeah, so I think I definitely echo what Priti and Laura said. I think on top of that, I just really enjoyed the international environment in general. I really loved how, looking back, still my best friends I met at this program, and they're from all over the place. I know Sarah Jane, you happen to work with one of them. So I think, for me, this is 8 years ago now, right? And what I really remember is just the friendships that developed during that time and how they lasted. And I remember the first day of the program, one of the teachers said, the friends that you make this year, you will keep forever. And, I didn't think that was going to be true, in all honesty, but, it's worked out so far. So I think that's definitely one of the things that I think was really valuable. So many of the people that I met during the program have gone into really interesting roles, and we still ping each other like, hey, have you come across this kind of issue before? How do you deal with that? So in my time, the Employment Network event, it had just kind of kicked off and it was still fairly small. So we didn't have that massive benefit that that the program has right now. But even just, you know, keeping in touch with everyone and seeing all of my classmates, you know, having amazing jobs all over the world has been, is pretty cool. Yeah.
No, thank you very much. And I totally agree with the international aspect. That's one of the main reasons why I love it here, because I always say I'm not just learning a course, but I'm also learning the other cultures, and we all grow together, even though we might be taking different paths. At the end, you know, we all learn from each other. So thank you. And I will pass the floor to Mr. Radoslov.
Yes, hello. Absolutely, I agree with everything that has been said so far. Definitely, I think that the Hague provided us with a great foundation that really made all subsequent steps, at least in my career, very easy in terms of obtaining my master's or proceeding with my future employment. Essentially, the Hague has provided me with such a foundation that, I'm not sure if I would be here in the position where I am if I wasn't following this program.
Thank you very much. And I guess we would all start to realize once we actually graduate how much we've learned and how beneficial everything we learned and being in The Hague was. So thank you. And now finally, I'll pass the floor to Mr. Mykyta.
Yes, hello again. Yeah, I think The Hague University is about people. I met so many wonderful people there and made a lot of friends. And yeah, I mean, the firm I work in right now was created by my friends, and I also work with other consultants, and I know these people because of friends I made in The Hague University. So just, you know, it's all about connections. Mm-hmm. But apart from that, I mean, it feels like a family. I mean, I was in 3 more law schools, and I mean, the attitude in The Hague University is different. I mean, you really feel some connections with lecturers. I didn't feel this kind of connection in other universities. And what about other skills? I think the best, like the most important skill I got from The Hague University is like writing skill and structuring skill, because we had so many weird assignments. I just didn't know what to do. And I mean, in real life, when you work like a lawyer, it's the same. You get some assignment and you don't know what to do, and you just you know, you learn how to do research, and, you know, you just, these skills cannot be, you know, gained from anywhere else. You just need to do something. That's it.
Wow, that was very interesting. So thank you. And with that being said, we can move on to the specific questions. So I can see that David will be the first one addressing the question. So the floor is all yours.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. So my first question would be, of course, to Ms. Engelhardt. And this relates to your current position at TomTom's. So would you please describe the life of a senior lawyer in a nutshell? What are the challenges and what are the most interesting things about it?
Yeah, so I'm sure this is different for every, you know, legal counsel or senior counsel that works in a company. So my role is quite interesting. It touches on a lot of different things. So I am first and foremost a specialist in intellectual property, dealing with kind of the contentious issues that might arise. So it could be, you know, a trademark infringement, might be related to copyright or patent. Those kind of files would hit my desk first. So those are the kind of things that I look into. Another aspect of my job is to look into what kind of laws are upcoming that might affect us. So it is really looking at what is Europe doing. Europe is our main market. So I guess I should wind back a little bit and say that TomTom is a technology company, and most of our business is licensing software to companies like in the automotive industry or more in the enterprise industry. Could be maps or traffic information, those kind of things you would think about. So I will look at laws that might impact us in any way, see if we want to maybe give some feedback to the European Commission as well on some of these things, which is something that I really enjoy. Is a nice kind of different aspect of my job. And then the third major thing is negotiating contracts. So if we want to sell or if we want to license some of our maps or maybe some other software to other companies, then I would be one of the people that looks into this. So my life as a senior counsel is a continuous trying to find the balance and trying to prioritize between kind of the three major topics. 1 week it might be really busy on the litigation front, and then it might be really quiet on litigation for a month. Really all depends on kind of the deadlines. And I think that is also the challenge that comes with my job, is how do you prioritize the different tasks? I work with so many different people throughout the company. Everyone always thinks everything is urgent. So how do I decide what I'm going to focus my time today on? That would be a challenge. And I think that's also the thing that I enjoy about it. It's that I somehow managed to cultivate this really interesting package of three different topics that I really enjoy and I'm still learning about every day. So yeah, as I said, I really started on intellectual property. That was my specialism for quite some time. And it's slowly expanded to include the other things. So the continuous learning and the continuous adding things to your package of stuff that you're doing, I think is the interesting thing. But that comes with its challenges of prioritizing.
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure that prioritizing is a challenge in itself. I mean, of course, when I think about litigation, that already sounds very intimidating, because obviously I've never been into litigation before. But it seems that it takes another type of craft to combine all the knowledge and at the same time create a structure in how to tackle with all these things. But that's fantastic that you have achieved that. And right now I'm going to pass the floor to Bianca.
Thank you very much. And I would like to ask my first question to Mr. Radoslov. You already mentioned that our program within the Hague University has provided you with a very good basis for your master and your career so far. So my question is, again, seeing that we are an applied science university, and how was the transition to a research university for your master in European Union law at Maastricht? If you could maybe elaborate a little bit more about that, and maybe if you can tell us a bit more about the master itself.
Absolutely. Yes, so the transition actually was fairly smooth. Maastricht University itself, even though it's a research university, actually uses a similar approach to the Hague of learning by doing. So the structure of the courses is very similar. You have lectures, workshops, assignments, papers. It's very, very, very familiar to what we've been doing in the Hague. And to be honest, when I went to Maastricht, essentially my courses, I felt that they are more like a refresher rather than obtaining essentially new skills. And I actually was very happy with the foundation, as I said, that I received from the Hague, because this really allowed me to not simply absorb information from Maastricht, but also reflect and I actually apply it in the future. And on the other topic is that the Hague itself really prepares you to tackle any courses that you might receive, I believe, from your masters. And and essentially, I believe that in order to enter the Maastricht University, you would need to do essentially another course test. It's a fairly simple and straightforward test, especially if you specialize EU law. And the master itself is structured in such a way that you have either a public or a private track. So you can follow private law or a public law. And there is a third option, which I personally followed, and that essentially is the one that allows you to pick and choose between different courses. And I found this to be really interesting because I have chosen, for example, environmental law or public procurement, and right next to it, courses like family law or migration and citizenship, which are very national-centric.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That was actually very, very interesting and good to know, since I know at least for us third-year students, we already maybe start looking for masters, and we always hear how great Maastricht University is. So thank you again, and I will let now Sarah Jane go ahead.
Thanks, Bianca. And to Mykyta, I have two small questions, but they're like one big general one. So the first one is, what do you think has allowed you to have such a great interest, and if I can put it in this way, passion within this field of law? And then the second question is, from your experience, since this field of law is becoming, let's say, more famous, more demanding in the market, do you think finding an internship or a job is becoming more challenging or easier?
Thank you for your question. I mean, to answer it, I need to tell you a little bit more about myself. So, I mean, yeah, what I mean, I'm like kind of, I can call myself like fintech lawyer, fintech consultant. So, I mean, I always loved technology. I mean, when I was 15, I liked to play computer games. I mean, but I didn't just play them. I mean, I had my own server to test different things, and I was a game master in other people's server. You know, I was like doing this, not like a game, but I was involved into this community. And I even downloaded a Bitcoin miner at that time. I could be rich, but my computer was so weak. So, I mean, yeah, it never happened. But anyway, so I had like this passion. And then when I was 15, my second passion was law. I mean, I participated in various legal competitions in Ukraine. You could do it since like, yeah, you're 15. Like you can write research papers, everything basically. So I won a couple of these competitions. And yeah, I came to The Hague. And in 2017, I basically combined my two passions. I started to write my dissertation about smart contract technology. And it was like kind of early, like because it was 2017 and not many people wrote about this topic. So in the end of the day, like my topic, my paper, I uploaded it to, how do you call it, SSRN. And it was cited by like some books, like journals like Harvard Negotiation Law Review, because it was early, not because I'm a super expert on this field. I don't know. But yeah. That's how I developed this passion, because I was always passionate about technology. So I never developed it, but I just combined something that I liked with something that I liked. So basically, that's how I ended up working in this field. About internships, I'm not sure like I've ever seen like a pure fintech law internship. I mean, what I do is like it's a quite niche business, because I don't work in a big law firm. And I don't work in a like big four consultancy. So, but I saw like some internships, and I still think you need all different skills related to commercial law. And this field is quite, I mean, mostly to relate to financial law. I mean, with like when you work with crypto companies or fintech companies, you do the same kind of work, but you just need to have a bit more technical skills, I believe. Like if you work with crypto companies, you need to know more about technology. And if you apply, I mean, this kind of knowledge is a big bonus. So if you know it, I mean, in the Hague University, there is a perfect like opportunity for you to learn crypto and technology. There is a thing called blockchain miner. I think it's open for everybody. And I visited even after I graduated. So yeah, I mean, you can try it. And maybe you will increase your chances. I mean, I don't think it's like different from all other internships. So that's what I think.
No, thank you very much. And I'm very happy to see that you've managed to find your passion and then combine the passion and then follow it. That's very rare nowadays. And for me, the field of technology actually kind of intimidates me because I feel really like old-fashioned, like I still use pen and paper. So it's nice to hear, someone who's the opposite, because I can learn a lot. So thank you. And I guess now it is Mara's turn.
Yes, thank you. And just before going to my questions, I would just like to say to everyone who's watching from YouTube that we see your chat and your questions, and we will get to them, but a bit later in the panel. So just be aware that we definitely see you, and we will get to all the questions in due time. Okay, so my question now is for Ms. Bhikharie, and it's also concerning internships, because you were a legal intern at the Trade Intern Program Manager under the Department for International Trade at the British Embassy in The Hague, and also a legal project manager intern under the Department of International Affairs at the Hague Municipality. So I guess my question is if you could tell us a bit more about the process, since you were an intern a few years back. Also, what were the main differences between the two, and just about your experience overall?
Thank you for the question. So I would have to also give a bit of background on how I found these internships. So I actually started my first legal internship at the Grootjes Institute for International Legal Studies at Leiden University. And I actually found that through a posting that Mr. Laurent made, and it was actually for a summer internship, and it was from May to August. And at that time, I was in the Netherlands, and I thought, I'm not going on holiday this year, so let me just do something productive. And I did that internship for about 3 months. It was super fun. I actually got to tour the ICC. I did the summer school program. I actually got to attend all the summer school programs that people normally pay for. I just got to sit in and listen to all these professors talk about all these different topics. And I got to meet all the students that would come. So it was a great networking opportunity. And I kind of used that to catapult myself to the next internship that I did immediately after in September. So I ended it in August, and then I had the month of August off, and then I went into an internship. And that internship I actually did for credit. And that was with the Department of International Affairs. And that one I also got through Mr. Laurent, but this one was a bit different because they were actually looking for someone that spoke Dutch, because it is a Dutch department within the Dutch, government organization. So they wanted someone that had knowledge of international law, of international organizations. And this is where me having experience at the actual international organizations, having been inside of them, having met with the influential people there, and even just the day-to-day staff, the operations team there, because I had to do the tours, that helped me when I went in for an interview, because then they would ask me okay, so you study international law at The Hague. What do you know? What do you do? What can you do? And a lot of the activities of the actual work that I ended up doing there aligned a lot with what I was doing at the Grootjes Center, which was event management, project management, basically doing, and then incorporating a lot of the things that we were already doing at the law program, which is legal research, advising policy, writing memos, and being able to read and synthesize the law. And that was a really big one, because sometimes we would get pieces of text from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we would have to read it, and it was written in a legal way that most people don't know quite how to understand and break down. And you kind of having that knowledge really helped me with breaking it down in simpler terms and synthesizing the information for the staff there. And then in terms of the internship that I did with the British Embassy, so I got that one actually through a job board. I was actually looking for work because at this point I was about to graduate, and I started looking on job boards for actual real jobs, so to speak. And then I saw this opening, and at first I wasn't sure, but it was, I clicked the link. It was actually on Indeed.com, very innocuous place. And it was so covertly hidden. It was we're looking for an intern for the British Embassy. And I clicked on it right away. And the actual deadline for the opening was 2 days later. So I immediately applied. And then I kind of forgot about it. 2 weeks later, I actually got an email with an invitation that I was invited for an interview. And the ways in which the internship interview process with the municipality and the British Embassy were very similar was that you had to go through multiple rounds of interviews. And you actually had to submit yourself to a background check, and you had to sign a non-disclosure agreement because you are dealing with sensitive data. So that was interesting because both were kind of, even though they were doing similar but different things, they still wanted you to maintain that level of, secrecy, so to speak, so that you maintain the integrity of the work. And even though you're pretty much a lowly hire, you still have to maintain that. And then in terms of the work, it was pretty fun. I mean, at the British Embassy, I did policy analysis, and this was right at the time of Brexit. So there was a lot of change happening. And they asked me to do basically an analysis of Dutch energy policy and UK energy policy and kind of assess where there would be opportunities for collaboration and cooperation. And that was a really rewarding project because they actually, when I left, they actually started doing the work that I had been working on.
Thank you. I think that's very inspiring. And it also shows that it's very important, to just take your chances and stay connected and within the networks, which is why we hope that this event is also as helpful for us as it is for everyone who's watching, because we get to know a lot more about connections and where we can get opportunities from and so on. So thank you so much. And I will give the floor to Daniel.
Thank you. And again, thank you to all our speakers for their sort of interesting answers to our questions. My question is for Laura. I was just wondering, what is your daily life like as a case manager and legal assistant at the UN residual mechanism for criminal tribunals? And how do you feel that this sort of daily life or experience is different from that other tribunals, or specifically your experience at the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia?
Thank you for your question, Daniel. I will also echo my colleagues' responses just to give you a bit of background as to how I ended up at the ICTY. I started with an internship in 2013 with the defense team of Radovan Karadzic, which the trial was ongoing on the defense side, meaning that there were a lot of defense witnesses. The work was completely hectic. There was no such thing as 9 to 5. There was a lot of work involved. But after 6 months of that internship, it was the moment when I realized that despite working incredibly long hours, despite the overload of work that had been put on my shoulders, that was the thing that I wanted to do and that I really enjoyed. So I came back to the Hague University, I finished my degree, and I did not want to actually limit myself in my choices. So I went and I had an internship with Nane at TomTom just to give corporate law a chance before dismissing it completely. And after TomTom, as I mentioned, I did a bit of private international law. And back in 2017, I was offered the opportunity to join the appeals chamber on the Perlich et al. Appeal. And then since 2018, I have been on a contempt case with the International Residual Mechanism. The work that I'm doing currently as a case manager, legal assistant, legal consultant on the contempt case at the moment is very different from all the work that I have done before, even in ICL. So it really depends, first of all, on the case that you get assigned on, whether it's a core crimes case or whether it's a contempt case, because there are two different issues. And then depending on the stage on which the case is, your tasks are different. With Karadzic and with Perlich, because there have been very long trials going on, unless you are there from the beginning, you only get to work on very specific portions and have very specific and determined limited tasks. With Karadzic, there was a lot of evidence reviewing, so you just read millions of pages of evidence and you try to put them into context and to find the relevance and the probative value that they might have to the case against the client. On Perlich, on the appeals chamber, there was a lot of drafting. and researching, and boring tasks such as footnoting, making sure there are no typos, that kind of things that nobody wants to do. But even as an associate legal officer, you still have to do them. And now on the contempt case, I have been lucky enough to have started the case from the beginning and to see it almost through till the end. So because it's been trial, we have my daily tasks include, again, evidence reviewing, a lot of drafting, a lot of researching, but this time around I've got to interview witnesses, I've got to prep witnesses, I have help for the cross-examination of witnesses. You do a lot of studying of transcripts, of studying of precedent. There is a lot of novel things that, even though the mechanism is not a new institution per se, and it was not created with the idea that is going to be a new tribunal or a new court, but to just take over and help with the completion strategy of the ICTY and ICTR, there were still a lot of questions in the beginning as to what were its powers, what's its competency, what is the legal applicable framework to the mechanism. So it's been challenging discovering the part of contempt as well, because the subject matter is different from core crime. So you don't have necessarily anything like genocide, crimes against humanity, or war crimes. Contempt of court is basically anything that can interfere with the administration of justice. So it's a very broad definition. It's less grave than the core crimes, but at the same time, given the stage in which the international mechanism is at the moment, there is a very big emphasis on this kind of cases as well. And to turn to your second part of the question as to what is different, or why do I think that the mechanism is different, I think it's just because of its virtue of being a residual institution rather than being a permanent one or even an ad hoc one. Most of its functions are not there to start trials or to see trials from beginning to the end. It's just there created to actually take over and try to close down everything that has been in the works for over 20 years. So I think that this is what sets it apart on the some level.
Okay, thank you very much. This is very interesting. So we study these institutions, but we're not really always aware of what the day-to-day running of them is like for someone working in those institutions. So this is very, very good insight. Thank you so much. And I'll pass the floor back to David now for a second question.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. It was really interesting to listen to you all. Now I have the second question for Nane. So I was looking through your LinkedIn profile, of course, doing the background research. And I saw that in your career at TomTom's, you have basically covered every step from, for example, from intern to senior lawyer. Could you please describe the process of climbing all the steps, and how did you manage and tackle the increase in responsibilities from each step to another?
Yeah, so I guess thanks for checking it out. I guess it's not really like a formula, right? But my journey at TomTom, I think, has been quite interesting. So I started there indeed as an intern in the intellectual property team. Now, I think I was the first person, aside from the head of IP, that actually had a legal background in that team. So it was a team of about 10 people at the time, some core patent guys, and a lot of administrators, but not really many people with a legal background aside from the head of IP, who was dealing with litigation at the time. So at some point during the internship, they basically asked me, like, hey, would you be interested in joining us full time as a associate counsel, which is TomTom speak for junior counsel, I want to say. And we would also think it's really great if you want to further your studies, if you want to, because at this time I had just graduated from the Hague, so I have my LLB. So what I agreed at the time with my manager is that I would further my studies in the UK as a part-time student, which was basically distance quite a lot. And I would go there every once in a while for the weekend to take some courses. And after 4 years, so that was 2 part-time studies, first the graduate diploma in law and then the legal practice course, which was combined with a master's. I qualified as a solicitor in the UK. I think that kind of coincided with my promotion to being a legal counsel. So it was a step from junior counsel to legal counsel. As I said, that took about 4 years, I think, but gradually while you're working, you gain experience, you pick up new responsibilities, things that, took me 3 hours when I was an intern, took me, 20 minutes when I was at the end of sort of the 4 years. When I got my promotion to legal counsel, I also was at a point where I was supervising some of the more junior people's work, which comes with different challenges as well. Again, going back to prioritizing and to your personal time management. But I guess it's been going really well, and the junior people were also, developing, which was amazing to see. And yeah, that just kind of progressed to where I was promoted to senior IP counsel last year. Up until that point, I was very much intellectual property focused. Now that team kind of stopped existing, and it was split up between the technical units where all of our patent work was being done and the legal team, which is where I went together with 2 junior legal counsels. And since then, I've expanded my role to include more contract work, more licensing work, and more focusing on sort of, I guess, the intersection between contract work and IP. So I do a lot of work on research and development together with other parties, for example. We might be, developing something for autonomous driving together with a car maker. We need to put some agreements in place, who's going to own the intellectual property. Those are the kind of things that I would be looking at. But yeah, it's just been really gradual. And with every step, and not necessarily with a promotion, just comes new responsibilities or new interests. Someone might leave, someone needs to pick up the work. I might be really interested in the work. I volunteer to pick it up, or it might be, distributed between different people. So yeah, I think that's really how that went. And it has been quite some time. So since I graduated, so it's been about 8 years. And I just continued learning every day and continued to pick up different tasks, kind of moving between different functions. At some point, you're able to combine those different functions and you become, the company expert on a certain topic. And if you're in a nice company, I think they recognize that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that the responsibility doesn't come with the promotion. It's normally responsibilities piling up, and then at some point you might get a promotion or something. At least that's how it went for me.
Wow, that seems like quite a long and interesting journey, and it's very encouraging from an eyes of a student to see how far you've made it. And of course, you seem to make it very smooth, and I'm sure it's been a long and a very hard process. But it's great to see that it is possible to make it out there as long as you put the effort, of course.
For sure. Yeah, so many different paths, and mine is just one. But if you look at some of the profiles of some of the people that graduated around the same time as me, even looking at Laura, who graduated just a year later, and Rados, they all made amazing careers, and we all took such a different path. So there's definitely different opportunities. And I think staying true to yourself is what's core to that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm in total agreement to that. And it's great to see you guys here today, and of course, going this far. But now I'm going to pass the floor to Bianca.
Yes, thank you very much. And a really huge thank you to all of you, because everything you said so far was very, very inspiring. So thank you again. And my second question for Mr. Radoslov is about your current role as Global Regulatory Affairs Associate, because Mykyta earlier mentioned, combining two interests. to passions. And in one of our previous meetings before the actual panel of today's, you mentioned that that's basically what you kind of did, combining your interest in the medical devices field and with law. So I wanted to ask, what does your role actually entail within the pharmaceutical company Perrigo, and how did you exactly combine it with your EU law background?
Yes, absolutely. So indeed, I currently work in regulatory affairs in the field of medical technology, medical devices. And my job merges the fields of life sciences with the field of law. And it's something which I truly love indeed. Essentially, if you need to place a product on the market, it needs to comply with a very wide range of standards and legislations, be it at international, European, or local level. And essentially, my job is to translate this framework into actions which demonstrate compliance. So when a consumer picks the product, or when a physician uses the product in a medical intervention, they would be certain that the product is going to be safe and efficacious, and that essentially it would not harm the patient or the end user in any way. And indeed, it's definitely a challenge because my chemistry and biology are pretty much high school level, and 90% of my colleagues are pharmacists or chemists or bioengineers. So, so mixing the two, it is a challenge of its own, but it is very rewarding as well, because these teams really require a jurist in the end. It really requires someone who could review the applicable legislation, that can interpret it, and it could also ensure its application within the company. And I must say, I believe that essentially all of the new approach directives within the EU are they are providing a lot of groundbreaking floor for people if they're interested in specializing in EU law, and for essentially for future professionals in developing their careers in that, because the industry is hungry for jurists who are specialized in a specific field of the new approach directives, or at least this is my impression so far.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. And I will give the floor now to Sarah.
Thanks, Bianca. And Mykyta, I would love to ask you many questions, but I am limited. So my first question is, if I were to be in your shoes for one day, what would I expect in regard to being a consultant at PSP Lab for fintech companies?
I mean, there is no typical day for me as a consultant. I mean, I don't have even fixed schedule, so I can work from whenever I want, and wherever I want, and whenever I want. But I can just to explain what I do, I just need to explain you a bit what PSP Lab does. So basically, we're a fintech consultancy, but we are focused on payments markets. So we work with electronic money and payment institutions. Just for you to understand, like, do you know maybe Revolut? I don't know, Monzo, TransferWise. I mean, these are all not like banks, but they are electronic money institutions. I mean, yeah, Revolut has already a banking license, but anyway. So yeah, so we help our main business, one of our main business lines is to help these companies to get a license from the FCA, the financial regulator in the United Kingdom. So what I do as a consultant, there are like two basically aspects. I mean, I also have passion for business, so I combine my three passions basically. So one part of my job is to attract new clients. I mean, I'm a consultant, it's business. I mean, it's all risk. If like we don't have clients, we don't have job. That's how it works when you work in a consultancy. So, but then maybe, I mean, more risk, more rewards. That's how it works in life. It works for investments, it works for everything. So what I do, I mean, I can, when I don't work on a project or in parallel, I can draft content I can answer like emails, have various presentations, and I explain potential clients what we do and what they need to start their business. Like for example, I created a page, a web page, like 5,000 words. I spent like 2 months to create this page, like doing research and all different kind of things. But the aim of this page was to attract clients. So now this page has like 400 views per month, and I get like 20, like our company gets, and I personally get like 15, 20 leads per month. So that's what you do. And what I did, I studied search engine optimization as a lawyer myself. I cannot really delegate to some marketers because, the legal content is so different from what copywriting, like people from copywriting industry do. So, yeah, and the task is like to persuade a client to work with us, and this client must have to start this business. At least the client needs at least like 200,000 euros. Normally it's like around 1 million. It's excluding our fees. So this is a pretty complex project to start this kind of business, and we spend like around 450 hours to do this project. So once we have like clients, we can have 2 clients at the same time because we are quite small, and this takes a lot of time to work with them. We also do some clients attract lead nurturing activity, but we are focused on a project. So at that time, what we do, we draft documents. Like every 2 weeks, we deliver our clients a lot of documents, different let's say business plan. For a business plan, I also prepare market analysis. What I do is really I do a lot of different things. I also draft terms and conditions. I check different company policies because what we do is a mix of business consultancy, compliance consultancy, and legal consultancy. It's quite we call it a turnkey licensing solution because it's everything in one place. We also help companies find technology. I know many things about clearing systems, card acquiring, alternative payment methods, electronic money, everything. And in addition to that, crypto, but it's a different side of what I do. So, I have to prepare 150 pages per 2 weeks. So it's a lot of writing. I have template, but most of the time, what I do, it's unique. So you need to, really look at the business of your client and produce something that is really tailored to the need of the clients. So, yeah, I do a lot of writing. I write every day, and that's what I do in terms of licensing. I also provide some consultancy services. The tasks are so different. I can, assessing decentralized business model for a crypto company in terms of regulations in the United States. Work with a crypto exchange because the company wants to list their token on a crypto exchange. Doing everything. You do some company law things. You help with to draft investment agreements, especially investment agreements for tokens for crypto. They are a little bit different from normal investment agreements. Yep. So that's how it is.
No, I realized I should have asked, what don't you do within this field? But no, it's very interesting. And I would like to squeeze in my very last question, which is working within this field. What is one thing that you could share with us and the rest of the audience that you have learned that we're not actually aware of until we actually reach that position?
I don't know about reaching the position. I can tell you one thing. It's the first thing I was taught in a law school is just to say every time it depends. Now my favorite word is not it depends. When I work with crypto companies, my favorite phrase is it's all in gray area. So you should learn this phrase if you work with something you don't understand and nobody understands. You just say it's all in gray area.
Okay, nice. We will actually start using that then. And yeah, thank you very much for your answers. And I'll pass the floor to Mara now.
Thank you. And also thank you for the tip. It's definitely useful. My second question for Ms. Bhikharie is concerning also something to do with business, because previously you were a senior compliance associate at Amazon before you decided to make the jump and you actually became the CEO of your own company entitled Vida Nova Travel. So maybe could you provide us with more information about this, about how do you think that your legal knowledge and expertise helps you as a CEO?
Absolutely. So I think that one of the things that you don't quite anticipate in life is just how different direction you will take. They say this saying that man makes plans and God laughs. And that's kind of how it happened in my case, because I was really intent after graduating that I wanted to stay in the field of diplomacy, but I ended up working at a big corporation. I ended up working for Amazon in the Netherlands, and I started doing compliance work, which I really liked. I did chemical and hazardous goods compliance. So basically what that meant was that I would review and write code to take hazardous goods off of the Amazon marketplace and then send them to a different team for review to ensure that they met international regulation standards. I really loved my job, but I was also going to move to the United States, and unfortunately that position was not transferable because it was the Netherlands based. So I ended up starting my own company, and the way that happened is that it's partially a family business. So my father-in-law used to be a very foremost prominent litigation lawyer in Atlanta, Georgia, and he made a lot of his fortune doing litigation law. And he ended up buying a lot of properties in Southern Africa and Mozambique, and he wanted to turn that into like a business model of having like luxury rentals, but it was right at the cusp of COVID. So that kind of gave me the opportunity to then pitch a marketing plan to him, which he was so taken by that he offered me a position in this company. Then I became the CEO. But being a CEO is a lot of responsibility. It is way more than just being a lowly compliance officer. You have to do everything from contract drafting to HR, tax, international taxation. You do everything at once. You do project management, you direct marketing. I wear so many hats in my own company now. And also, I'm also building proprietary software for a booking system. So that is like another different challenge that you're dealing with. So now I also have to deal with a lot of fintech related things, such as getting a payment processor, dealing with clearinghouse as well. And also dealing with American and South African regulation, because you have to comply. You have to comply by the taxation rules of each country. You have to ensure that you don't, even for something as simple as payroll taxes. So that's something that I'm dealing with right now, is that I actually have to pay the the Internal Revenue Service like quarterly taxes, and that's like an interesting process because you actually have the tax code is so complicated for a small business. So and then having had studied some tax law, there was like a course in tax law at the Hague University that was super helpful because every country has their own tax code and it's written in such an interesting way, and being able to read it and understand it has been a huge help. But so far it's been an interesting challenge, and I do think that having all the skills that I learned from this program has helped me in so many different ways. It has rescued me in times where I just didn't know what to do, but you just take a moment back and you remember like, okay, so what did I study again? And then it harkens back to that one time that this lecturer said this, and you're like, okay, let's go do this. And also, you can hire a lot of people to help you out, but I do most things myself.
Thank you so much, and it's very reassuring to hear that the skills that were being taught are useful in in a lot of fields, because as you said, you never really know what will happen and which turns our careers will take. So thank you so much for the insight. And now I will give the floor to my colleague Daniel.
Thank you. So again, Laura, you mentioned earlier you you tried out private international law and experimented a bit with corporate law. So I was wondering, when you found sort of ICL and started working there, what drew you to that initially, and how did you know that this was the right sort of position for you?
Yeah, I think the two most important factors that really helped me in taking the decision to go for ICL and IHL was the logic and the structure that both courses offer. I was the kind of student that I have a very good photographic memory, and that's the way that I study. I cannot just repeat things after hearing them or anything like that. So for me, the structure of ICL, the modes of responsibility, the actus reus, the mens rea of a crime, they were like tick boxes that really helped me, and that was my way of functioning. And in addition to that, it was also just after seeing the specialization curriculum and being able to Google some of the names that were on the curriculum as being the future lecturers, that really made an impression on me. And I remember, and he will always be my one name that I will remember for the rest of my life, was Thomas Pittman. He was the head of chambers at the ICTY at the moment, and I remember him being listed as one of the lecturers for one of the courses in the ICL, IHL specialization. And for me, that was something like, because I have visited the ICTY back in the first year of law school, and I met him because he was the person in charge of doing the presentation for chambers back in 2010. And when I saw that he's the one teaching at least 2 courses in the ICL IHL specialization, it was something incredible for me. And I think the caliber of the lecturers that we've had, especially in the specialization courses, is an immeasurable thing that I don't think any other university in The Hague can actually counter that.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, the lecturers for all the courses as well, but international criminal law, I mean, from my personal experience, the lecturers then bring in their personal experience of, when I did this at the ICTY, or when I did this at the ICC, it's unbeatable. So thank you. Next, we're going to move on to a round of another general question for sort of everyone to answer. So you're free to chime in when you have your response ready. The question is, if the person you are now could give advice to your younger law student self and the future sort of current law students, what would that advice be, and what would you have done differently? Yes, please go ahead.
I would actually encourage people to do the international exchange, because I didn't, and I regret it so much. And I'm hearing Mykyta say that he went to Rome. I'm so envious because I love Italy, and that's something I wish I had done, actually. But I did do Model United Nations in New York, so I would recommend that, once this COVID situation becomes less of a hazard, do travel internationally, do partake in the competitions. Do the travel abroad, just take advantage of all the offerings that the program has, because there are so many, and they will help you tremendously.
Yes, definitely. The uni has such a good exchange list now, multiple universities, multiple places to go. Yeah, please.
Yeah, how do I? Okay, yes. I mean, exchange was really, it was amazing time. I really enjoyed it so much. But I mean, right now it's so much easier, because at that time, only 8 best students out of 200 could go to, only 2 of them could go to Rome, maybe 4, something like this. No, but not many. That's what I mean. Right now, there are so much more opportunities. And I don't know, advice that I would give to students is just, I think it's just, you should go easy on yourself. I mean, you need to understand your weaknesses, like, stress resilience. and build your life career without ruining your mental health. I mean, I've just yesterday read that, there was a research in the United States, and it said like 1 out of 5 American lawyers, like at some, I don't know exactly, but it was like a bar research or something like this, have drinking problems, you know, and many young lawyers, they also take like hard drugs and everything. This because it's really hard sometimes to be a lawyer in a top law firm, and many students and lawyers, they work too hard without enjoying their lives. So I would advise just to be easy, just enjoy life, because that what I did is I went to study, to do my master, and I worked at the same time. I can tell you, I managed it. I mean, I graduated with distinction, but it was awful. I would never advise anybody to do this ever. So just be easy and take your time, enjoy your life, because it's better in the long term.
Thank you. That's good advice. And yeah, it's hard to do sometimes. You know, it's easy to put on the pressure, but yeah, it's still hearing that from someone who has made it successfully as you have. That's very reassuring words. So thank you. And Laura?
Yes, I will echo Mykyta's comment as well. As like, try to enjoy law school life as a student if possible, because as same as him, as I worked 3 jobs during my last 2 years of law school, and it was extremely intense. But what I would give myself as the future advice would have been to become more involved in all the networking possibilities that The Hague has to offer you. Do not be afraid to walk up to lecturers. Do not be afraid to ask questions. I know it's a cliche and everybody says there are no such thing as stupid questions, but there really are no such thing as stupid questions. I've had plenty of interns coming to me being afraid to ask me questions because they're like, oh, but I think this is stupid. And I'm like, no, you are not in a position to determine whether the question is stupid or not. And it's better to ask the question, get an answer, than either not have an answer at all, or to do things in a certain way that then it ends up not being the right way. So those are my two pieces of advice that I would say, go for it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's yeah. Oh, sorry.
I was going to comment and say something like, I think having a question is already a step forward, so it's a good sign.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we've got our next bit of advice. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was actually going to say absolutely the same thing, that if I would give an advice to myself 10 years ago, it would be something like, take it easy, relax, things will be in order, so do not worry, you'll get your internship, you'll get your master's, you'll get your career, everything will come into order, everything with its time. So just enjoy your student life, and yeah, do not forget to have fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, I might say like it's again reassuring hearing it from so many of you, but I think it will still be hard to actually do that, because that's what we tend to do. We see, you know, all of you, and we see how much you're accomplishing and have accomplished. So then we put even more pressure and, you know, try to work even harder. And then, you know, you tell us just keep it easy. So it's definitely something that needs some work.
I think if I could just respond to that, like, everyone's path is a little bit different. I, for example, was definitely not a star student, never was, never will be, very much average, but you can still achieve something, right? And I think when I look at people that graduated sort of at the same time as me, there were top students, there were maybe students that weren't quite at the top, and everyone still managed to do something that they seem to enjoy, at least. So even though we've all taken different paths and we've had sort of different levels of success while we were at law school, we were all fine at the end. So please try and accept that for yourself. And it took me some time to accept that for myself, right? Like, I did the LLB, definitely not a star student. Same for all the other courses I did, very much, decisively average. But that's okay sometimes. And just you being you and bringing in different experiences, bringing in different cultures can also bring you very far. So just keep that in the back of your mind.
Thank you. So, sorry, Priti, did you have something else you wanted to say, or you got that hand up?
Sorry about that. I didn't realize I had it open. But I do want to add and echo a sentiment that Laura made, that you actually have the ability to talk directly to your lecturers. I have a very close friend who went to study European law at Cambridge University in the UK. And she told me, basically, the professors were never there. They were always touring. It was always a teaching assistant. And when the lecturer was there, he had no time for your questions. If you get to ask a question, take advantage of that, because not every university will even entertain the idea. So you're very lucky.
And Mykyta?
Your microphone.
Yeah, I have a small comment. I mean, I would advise everybody, like all the students, to start learning meditation techniques today. That really helps, I can assure you.
We'll definitely do, or try to.
Okay, so unless anyone has anything else they'd like to add, we could probably move on to the next session, which is an open Q&A, where our audience are going to ask a couple of questions, which will be moderated by Mara. So I'll, unless anyone... Okay, perfect. Mara, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you so much for the advice. And of course, thank you to everyone who put their questions in the chat box on YouTube. Maybe just to break the ice a bit, we have one question, which is for Mr. Milkov, and it's actually from Mr. Lorange. And he asks, does he still have a bit of time to be on PlayStation? Because I do not see him much anymore on the... So please feel free to answer.
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, now more and more playing my Nintendo Switch more than my PlayStation, but I still have it. Yes. So if he's up for some gaming sessions, he should just write me and then we'll organize something.
Okay, so going back to actually the first question which we received and which is for everyone. I know that some of you touched upon this a bit, maybe just to give a rundown. The question asks, I wanted to know if all the speakers pursued a master's program after their bachelor degree, and also one which was also concerning masters was, did the speaker also pursue an AP master's program? So maybe if it's okay with you, you can all just say if you did a master's and where. I know some of you touched upon this, but maybe just to, to put it into perspective for everyone watching.
Yes, I also ended up going to Maastricht for my master's degree. I did it in globalization and law, and I did not choose to have a specialization anymore because of the bachelor specialization. I thought that it's just better to have it open-ended. And yeah, I've been really happy with the program.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I guess I mentioned indeed that yeah, I did my graduate diploma in law and then the legal practice course at Nottingham Trent University, and then the legal practice course had sort of this LLM element. Like if you did the course and then you also wrote a thesis, then you got like an LLM. So I did it. I did it part-time while I was working. So yeah, when I started, I didn't have a master's. And I think maybe the IP question was for me. So no, I don't have an IP master's, if that question was for me. I just learned it on the job, really.
The question was general, but I do think it was for you. So thank you for clearing that up. And also maybe for those of you who didn't pursue a master, you can also choose to say maybe why not, because I think a discussion which we are all having right now is whether or not we should maybe gain some experience and then pursue a master, or just go straight ahead after university and pursue a master degree. So maybe you can also give your 2 cents about this. And yes, please go ahead.
Okay, me first. Yeah, I have a master's degree from Queen Mary University in London. I mean, it's banking and financial law. I'm not sure I will ever use most skills that I got from this master's degree. But I mean, I can say you that it's much more harder. Like, it's extremely hard. It's harder than the Hague University. Like, you have more sleepless nights. So if you want to do it, just be ready, and yeah, just go ahead if you really understand why do you need it. I mean, I think just a lawyer without a master's degree in finance, it's not competitive in the UK market. That's what I think.
Thank you so much. Ms. Priti?
So I chose to go straight into the job market. I have not yet obtained my master's, but I do intend to. Right now I'm doing like a mini MBA program just to get up to speed for certain management and accounting related things for my business. And I'm getting that from the Wharton School of Business online. But I actually do want to do like a master's in person in the UK, probably not in law, more policy related things, because that's more of where I want to go to in my furtherance of my career. But I do recommend that most people get a master's degree, because it will get you further. It will open a lot of doors for you. Plus the network you make is invaluable.
Thank you. I think that was it. I think everyone, but correct me if I'm wrong, because otherwise we can move on to more targeted questions which we received. So the first question is for Ms. Luca. I think you went to the ICTR in Tanzania. How different was it from the ICTY?
Yes, that is true. The contempt case that I'm currently working arose from a previous case at the ICTR. So for the last 6 months, I have been in Tanzania doing trial. And it is, to a certain extent, still very similar to the experience at the ICTY. However, I think that there is a lot more sensitivity as to witness protection issues, as to confidentiality, as to even sometimes in the interpretation of the rules of procedure by the judges, because the bulk of the judges have been a bit different in terms of their selection at the ICTI and their selection at the ICTR. So you can find different interpretations of the same rule, which sometimes is just because of the political context, and also made with the awareness that some of the things that were ruled on at the ICTY could never be ruled on before the ICTR. And this is mainly because of the Rwanda's Code of Criminal Procedure, which you have certain offenses which will qualify as to what people are calling genocide deniers. So the sensitivity as to the genocide is a lot and a bigger issue before the mechanism branch in Arusha than it would have been for the ICTY cases. And also, unfortunately, one of the biggest struggles that the ICTR has is that 20 years later, they are still stuck with 20 people in a safe house in Arusha that have been acquitted of all charges, because there is no cooperation from the states to the United Nations to actually take them and offer them asylum or refugee status, which has not happened with any of the ICTY acquitted or currently incarcerated people. So yes, I would say that as far as the ICTR is concerned, it is a bit more sensitive than the ICTY.
Thank you so much for the insight. The next question that we have is for everyone. And it comes from a first-year student, and she asks, a few of my fellow year one students are planning to leave for Leiden University. Have any of you ever considered making the switch? If so, on a comparative, what made you stay at the Hague University? And again, the floor is open to everyone because the question is addressed to all of you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I could share. Actually, I've never considered moving to Leiden or to another university for that matter. I believe that I specifically chose the Hague because I heard about the learning approach and the learning by doing methodology, which is really unique, so to say. I mean, I know only a handful of universities that really employ this way of teaching, and in the end, yes, you're going to get your degree from this university or from another, but what you really need to ask yourself is what would be helpful to you in developing new skills or in developing yourself as a professional. So if you find that the Hague would provide you with a better environment for you to flourish, then definitely choose the Hague. If not, it may be better choice to go to some other university. I do believe that essentially it is a very personal choice, and it's something that everybody needs to consider.
I would echo Rado's feelings in the sense that if you want to become a professional and learn by doing, the Hague University is the place for you to do so. If you are debating whether you would like to follow an academic career afterwards, then maybe Leiden or any of the other universities in the Netherlands are a better choice. But I think at the end of the day, it is a thing that you should decide for yourself. And if you have done, we have colleagues in our year that they left the Hague University after 1 year to move to other universities. So I think it's a personal choice.
Thank you. Anyone would like to add anything to this? I mean, from a student perspective, I think it's all about getting, to practice everything. And I think one huge advantage that we have are all the skills courses, because just by looking at comparison with, for example, in my country, Romania, how law is being taught, it's very much theoretical, but you do not get any sort of hands-on approach. So I think that's something very valuable, which we're very lucky to have. And if no one would like to add anything to this, the next question is for Ms. Nane, and it's from Mr. Lorange. And he asks, how was to receive a top prestigious IP team award some years ago in New York?
Yeah, so when I started at TomTom, I was indeed in the intellectual property team, and we were awarded with different awards, really. So I think after about 2 years, we won an award at a gala in London, and it was for Best European Intellectual Property Team, and it was awarded by the Association of Corporate Counsel. And because we won that one, we were sort of promoted to be able to win the global one. So I was able to go to New York to represent the team, and we ended up winning that one as well. I don't know why we won it necessarily. On the website it says that they look at different teams and how they do things. My personal belief is that we won this award because within our team, we really sort of raised young lawyers to kind of, do a lot ourselves. So we were a very young team. Not all of us have a law background. So some people would come from the customer support team, for example, but they would have this really great technical knowledge of our products. And then we would kind of combine the different angles. So I would bring the law angle, someone else would bring the technical angle. So that's a speculation as to why we won that award. But it was really great, and we got a couple more afterwards. So yeah, it was really cool to be recognized as such a global forum. But I want to be clear, that was a team thing. So I got to pick it up, but it wasn't me. It was 13 people.
Yes, we believe that credit is definitely due, and congratulations. And also to all of you for all the impressive careers that you have so far. Of accomplishments, Mr. Lorosh also let us know that Mr. Sokolov, he didn't specify, but he won together with Miss Moreva the first The Hague debate tournament some years ago. So also congratulations for that. Yes.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, this was the first The Hague debate tournament, and Liliana won the final herself because I couldn't participate. So she was as a first year student, she was against 3 third-year students, and she won for us both, you know. So a lot of credits to her.
No, but nonetheless, I think you definitely paved the way for the generations that are now, and so far the Hague debate tournament really growth. So I think congratulations are still due. And we have one more targeted question, which is for Ms. Priti. Where did you like to work the most, and which one of the two were more challenging, working at the embassy or being a senior compliance associate at Amazon?
That's a really good question. I personally enjoyed working at Amazon the most, but working at an embassy was my dream job, and I really got to do it. I loved it. I actually did this event there for all the embassy staffers in the Netherlands. So basically, all the interns that would go to different countries' embassies, we all invited them, and we did this big end of the year party, which ended up being so successful that I heard from the team recently, like right before COVID, they asked if we could do it again, and I was like, no. But I liked working at Amazon because the team was amazing. I had a really supportive team there. I would recommend people who want to go into the corporate world and do like a legal/corporate job, that Amazon is a great starting point. They're actually not that far from our university. It was literally like living in a 1 kilometer radius. Like I used to live in the red building, the red tower, and then go to school and then go to work there. So my whole life is concentrated there. But in terms of challenge, each internship and each job had its own challenge. At the British Embassy, the challenge was doing a lot of the policy analysis because that was something that was new for me. And actually having to really read through like 300 pages of text that is just literally about one policy objective and trying to synthesize the most interesting thing out of that is relevant for the Dutch market was difficult. That actually was like a multi-week project because with doing policy analysis, I was also doing event management and hosting trade shows. And I did this one fintech event. We did this cyber fintech event right before COVID. It was actually in February, where we invited British fintech companies to come to the Netherlands, network with each other, and also kind of see if there's opportunity for growth there. And then I also did a trade show, Horecaba, in which I brought a trade mission of 7 UK fruit and veg companies that were all vegan, food and drink, that were all vegan. And then we did like basically a showcase at this convention. So that was very challenging because that was all work that was new for me. And then in terms of the challenges at Amazon, there I had to learn how to code. And that's not something you get taught at law school necessarily. So that was really cool. And I walked away from every one of these jobs with so much more experience than I would have going into it. So always be open-minded. You will learn so many new and exciting things everywhere you go.
Thank you. And this is for everyone who's watching from the live stream. If you have any more questions, please put them in the chat now, because as of now, this is the last question that we received. And it says, I know that Mr. Sokolov already touched upon this earlier, but would you recommend working during a master's degree? And this question is again for everybody, but maybe Mr. Sokolov can start.
Yes, I can tell you about my experience. I mean, it's really, it depends, you know. So, and I mean, what I did consultancy. So I had like flexible hours, meaning that I didn't have any free time at all. So just for example, there was like an exam, corporate finance. corporate finance exam, you have lots of formulas. You need to do like 80% of finance, 20% law. And this was 24/7, like 20 hours exam. So it means that you have an exam at 10 and you can submit it before 10, like next day. So it means that I literally spent 24 hours writing this exam, not 24 hours, like 9 hours, 30 minutes, because I felt like I felt really like I was blacking out because, I didn't sleep. I had like half an hour of rest. But then what I did, I slept like 3 hours and I had a deadline. And I slept 3 hours and I started to work again because there is a deadline and I cannot miss it. I had to prepare for my exam and I had to, do something for the client. And thanks God, my colleague helped me because I finished the document and he proofread it, because otherwise I don't think it was the quality was quite good, but it still had some typos because I didn't sleep well. So it's really up to you because it's really challenging, and it depends what do you do. And it depends how hard is your program. If you make there are things like 2 year. In the UK, like from King's College, you can have 2 years programs. Like there is a 2-year master program for professionals. So you can complete it while working. It is designed for people who. It's also extremely complicated, and I know people who are finishing this program right now. It's still really hard, but maybe it's a bit more suitable for for those who are doing full-time job.
Thank you for the input. I think Ms. Nane also has her.
Yeah, so I have my personal experience, which is to do additional programs while working full-time. And I studied part-time next to my full-time job, so that's definitely a big difference from what Nikki is explaining, I think. And I found it to be really interesting, and I actually really enjoyed it. So of course there were challenging times where, again, you're busy at work, you've got exam period coming up, super stressful. But I also noticed that when I was studying next to my job, I was picking up both much quicker. While of course we did contract law in The Hague, but while I was actually drafting contracts myself for my job, to also again pick up contract law at uni, I found to be really helpful. Same for litigation. I found it to be really good for my development to do them simultaneously. But I do recognize that I was lucky to do it part-time, or the studies part-time. And then I do know some people that are doing, for example, the master's program in Maastricht and combining that with a 4-day job, for example. So I think, again, look at your personal life. What do you want to do? How much time do you want to give it? I felt like I had all the time, so I just did it part-time. I could not have done it full-time, also because there was distance and traveling and stuff. But see, maybe your job is willing to be flexible with you. Maybe you can go 4 days a week. Maybe they're willing to give you a little bit of time to study when exam periods are coming up. I think all of those things are worth looking at, especially for people that aren't really sure what they want to do after the bachelor's. I was one of those people. I wasn't really sure whether I wanted to stay in law, and to work and to be given the opportunity to study next to it just felt like a good option. So definitely discuss with your boss what are the opportunities and whether you feel like that fits your lifestyle.
Thank you. And also I see Mr. Rado has his hand up.
Yes, I also wanted to say something on the side. I did work during my bachelor's and master's on and off throughout the entire education, but it's worth also considering if you're looking for an internship or to work on the side of your master's. Some programs might allow you to essentially obtain credits for your efforts at work. So essentially, it's something like the internship at the Hague. Maybe during your master's, your side job or side internship might in the end help you obtain your degree faster. So that's something worth considering.
Yes, thank you. I think, as you all said, it very much depends. I think it's very personal, and also we should definitely do our research before. And we actually got one last question, which I think is very nice to round things up. And it says, how do you find inspiration when in doubt? Of course, this is open to anyone. And please, if you could give your 2 cents about it.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer this one because I doubt all the time. Imposter syndrome is a definite thing here. And I personally just find it really helpful to vent with my friends and to complain a little bit, let it go, realize that we're all in this together. And that sounds a little bit bad actually, but I really find inspiration in not feeling lonely. So I think, realize you're not alone in this, and speaking with your friends about any doubts that you have, I think can be really helpful. And definitely, Nikki already mentioned meditation, things like those are really good. Doesn't help for me, but I definitely know a lot of people that can do that. So I think personal, but for me, getting it all out together with my friends and having a good moaning session with some wine, that does it.
Thank you. I think it's Ms. Priti now, and then Mr. Rado. You're muted.
All right. I was going to say it's the same thing. You should surround yourself with people who uplift you, because sometimes you can get really in your own head, and that imposter syndrome is very real. And there was this study that I read that it happens disproportionately to highly educated people, especially women. Find yourself people who see your worth and your value, and whenever you want to have that moment of self-doubt, they will actually look at your accomplishments so far and be like, hey, but you got a really high grade in that essay or that, assignment, or you've done so many internships, or you have all these skills. That voice in the back of your head can be really malicious. So be kind to yourself and surround yourself with positive, uplifting people, and do a lot of self-care, go for walks, go hiking. I know that's hard in the Netherlands because it's so flat, but you hike to the dunes, you're near the beach, just center yourself and just really try to self-motivate if you can, and if not, have the right amount of people around you to do that for you.
Yeah, and also to complement this, absolutely agree. Surrounding yourself with good friends is definitely the thing that really helped me keep my motivation up. Definitely, I found inspiring sharing experiences with my friends and colleagues, and with some of whom I've really managed to make a really good connection. For example, my roommate from The Hague, Dr. Vatsov, he has been a great inspiration for me, and for him it has been, we have been supporting each other throughout our studies. And even though now we're living 2,000 kilometers away from each other, we're still maintaining regular contact. And some of the other colleagues that I've had, like Georgi Antonov or Eti Zhivkova, with whom we're actually neighbors nowadays. It's really nice to keep touch, and it really helps with the vibes and the motivation. You just need to have close group of friends.
Thank you. Really nice to hear, because I think all of us are year 3 here, so we're closing to our final year, unfortunately. And it's not really just about the studies, but it's also about the connections that we made and the friends. So it's very reassuring to hear that you still kept in touch with some of them, and you definitely pulled inspiration from them. So thank you. Yes, Mr. Nikita?
Yeah, I agree with everybody that friends also help you to be inspired and motivated, but also family. My family is far away. I call them, and it really helps. It's helped that because now we have technology. I mean, I can call them and they can help, they can support me. But I also find, like, I don't know about motivation, but at least I find inspiration from books, because you can read, biographies of many people, and you can see that everybody fails at some point of time, So, and I failed, I know other people fail, everybody. I mean, those who they don't do anything. That's why they don't fail. So that's what inspired, just to know, to read, to find some people like that you admire. I don't know, maybe it can be an Elon Musk. I don't know, anybody. You can just understand that you are not alone in this world, and then that you do something good and something valuable. That's just think that you do it and you can enjoy your life. That's what inspires me.
Thank you so much. And I think, yes, it's Miss Laura to finish off the Q&A section.
Yeah, I think it's all dependent on everybody, and everybody has his own thing that either gets him motivated or helps him find inspiration. For me, for example, it's music. I draft appeal briefs, I draft everything with music in my ears, which sometimes does not make any sense because, of course, it's like you would think that you would get distracted. So another refuge that I have for me, for example, is swimming, that I really feel that I'm clearing my mind. So it's really depending on the person, but at the same time, it should be something that if you cannot find answers, then what helps me, for example, is also looking at things from all different perspectives and angles and coming up with all the scenarios that I can envisage. And from there, try to find new ideas and new combinations, new perspectives and things like this. So this is my 2 cents.
Thank you so much. And also thank you to everyone who submitted their questions, because not only did they submit the questions, but because you cannot see the chat on YouTube, they also were giving their opinions on some matters, and also very much we're thankful for your input. So thank you for joining us and for asking the questions. And to close off the event, I would like to give the floor to my colleague David. And thank you again for answering everything.
Yes, thank you, Mara. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Of course, before we say goodbye, I have an important announcement to make. So the first issue for 2021 of the ILSA Journal will be announced on Friday. And based on that, of course, we have organized a specific event for that issue. It's only for the issue, only for the authors, and of course, the people who have contributed to the journal. The event will be held on Tuesday, 6:30 Dutch time. Basically, in this event, the authors will discuss what they've written about. You can ask them questions. It will be about the topic in itself and what motivated them to write it, and of course, challenges. So the link will be distributed on Friday. Again, please stay tuned for that. And if you have any questions, of course, our contact details. They will be posted, and please feel free to drop any questions. Again, thank you very much, everyone, for attending today. Thank you. Special thanks goes to the guests. We really appreciate this, guys. We really see how far you've come, and it's an encouragement for us, especially in these COVID times, to see that if you have enough motivation, then you can actually achieve quite far. So thank you for the participation and the willingness to answer our questions. Of course, I would like to thank the board for also facilitating this event. Thank you, guys. We made it again. Of course, a special thanks goes to Mr. Lorange for providing the contacts, for connecting us with the alumni, and of course for facilitating all the rest of the work that needed to be done for this event. That is all I have to say. I hope in the future that we get to meet face to face, and I wish you success in your future endeavors. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye again.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
And thank you, Sophia.
Thank you. And
Yes, well, yeah.